Hello, and welcome once again to Lehto's Law. I'm Steve Lehto, attorney at law in the state of Michigan, where I've been practicing law for 26 years in the fields of consumer protection and lemon law. I often write about the stuff for places like roadandtrack.com, and I've written a few books as well. Today we're going to talk about how most repurchased lemons are not branded as such. Most vehicles that are repurchased because they're lemons are not branded as lemons. So this is a common misconception. I've encountered this many, many times. And most recently, somebody sent me a link to a YouTube video by someone else, and they said, Steve, this guy talks about lemons. You should watch this. The guy wasn't an attorney. He was a car salesman from another state. And in his video, he said, well, if someone's got a vehicle that's almost a lemon, I can contact the manufacturer and get them a better deal on their trade-in because of the fact that when the vehicles get bought back, every lemon gets branded as a lemon, and it knocks the value of the car down so much that the manufacturer will then give us a better trade-in, some wackiness about this. But he made the statement that all vehicles bought back under the lemon law get branded as lemons, and that's absolutely not true. But I've encountered that before in many other places as well, including my own clients. And I've had clients tell me, they say, Steve, this car is a nightmare. I'm so glad to get rid of it. I'm just so glad no one's going to have to deal with this, ever again. And I said, what are you talking about? And the next owner's going to have to deal with it. And they say, well, they can't sell this car, can they? I say, yeah, they can. They say, well, at least they're going to tell the next owner, right? And I say, depends, they might not. And so a lot of people are shocked to learn that there is no title branding for every car in America that gets repurchased under the lemon law. So I've got to explain this a little bit, but like I said, it's a common misconception. I understand why the misconception is there, but we have to make sure this is perfectly clear that you understand that just because you're buying a late model used car and the title's not branded as a lemon, the car still could be a lemon. And here's why. So first of all, just to understand the process, keep in mind that all 50 states have got lemon laws. Now, just because the internet is such a wacky place, I was doing some research this morning on a couple other topics, and I found a website that said specifically, not all 50 states have got lemon laws, but keep in mind, all 50 states have got lemon laws. So I guess they were covering their bases there or something? I don't know. But all 50 states do. And I know that because I wrote a book called The Lemon Law Bible. And in the appendix, I have a list of all 50 states and their lemon laws. So, of course, from the moment I'm saying this word right now to some future date, some state might repeal its lemon law, but right now all 50 do. So there's lemon laws in all 50 states. The laws vary slightly from state to state on how the lemon laws work. Some states say your vehicle can't be repaired after 4 repair attempts or 30 days in the shop, it's a lemon. Some states say 3 repair attempts or 25 days. Those things change, but the mechanism is basically the same. And that is, your vehicle is so defective it can't be repaired. You approach the manufacturer, they say, go take a flying leap. You contact an attorney like myself. We either threaten a lawsuit or file a lawsuit, and then the manufacturer says, fine, we'll buy it back from you. The manufacturer buys the vehicle back from you, even though you bought it from a dealership. And one of the things I've often pointed out to people is that's one of the unusual things about the lemon law, is the manufacturer briefly becomes the titled owner of the vehicle. And when they originally built the vehicle and shipped it to a dealer, it went there with a certificate of origin, which is kind of like a title, but not quite. So anytime a vehicle gets titled to a manufacturer after it's been shipped to its initial owner, you have issues you want to investigate. So the fact that the manufacturer gets the vehicle into their possession is what happens that we need to think about, because then they will take the vehicle and they're going to sell it. Now, people say, Steve, a vehicle that catches fire every time you fire it up, or a vehicle that goes down the road sideways because it's bent in half or whatever, they sell that? I say, yeah, of course they do. Corporations are big behemoths that make money. They don't really worry about how they make money sometimes, and so if they can make money, they'll make money. So they have a car, they're going to sell it. I saw statistics today on the internet that says something with tens of thousands of cars get bought back every year in America. Car companies aren't going to just scrap them, okay? So they sell them, okay? So now what confuses people is people have heard that there are titles out there that are branded as lemons. And the reason many people know this is they've looked at Carfax or a similar vehicle history report company. So if you look at any company that issues vehicle history reports, and I might use Carfax now as a generic example, but there are other ones out there, they will often say things like, does the vehicle carry a brand on its title? Is the title branded? And it'll say the kinds of brands you might see are salvage vehicle, rebuilt salvage vehicle, or lemon. So a lot of people assume that because they've heard that or seen that must be true in all 50 states. I believe all 50 states, although I could be wrong, and if you know I'm wrong on this, please let me know. But I believe all 50 states have a thing called salvage. Okay, so a vehicle gets involved in a hellacious accident, it's darn near destroyed, has virtually no value except as a paperweight. So the insurance company hands you a check to buy another vehicle, less depreciation, so on and so forth. And you then give them title to the vehicle. They take the vehicle, which is wrecked, drag the carcass to an auction, and they sell it. And they will sell it, and it'll wind up with a salvage title, indicating the vehicle was at one point or another deemed by an insurance company to not be worth fixing. Okay, and we all know that once in a while, those formerly salvaged vehicles can wind up back in the stream of commerce legally if someone gets a rebuilt salvage designation for it, which I think I've spoken about before, but if not, I'll do a video on that in the future. But occasionally where somebody will actually pull some scam, fix the vehicle themselves, wash the title somehow, and wind up with a clean title bearing no designation or any branding on it, and they'll sell the vehicle to somebody else, and somebody else will go, wait, I did title history, and it had an owner, then it had an insurance company, salvage title issued, and now I've got a clean title, but the car goes, sideways down the street and it's about to break in half. Okay, so those things happen, but people are aware of the fact that there's a lemon brand out there, and they say, well, if a vehicle gets bought back as a lemon, clearly the title's going to get branded. Well, there's only like 12 or 14 states that require and even have a brand for a lemon law buyback. Michigan is not one of them. That's why I tell my clients, no, your vehicle's going to wind up back in the stream of commerce. Next week they're going to wash it, wax it, to sell it to somebody else. And so what confuses people is they know this thing exists, but it only exists in 12, 14 states, right around there. I tried to get a list of the states, and I found different lists. So I suspect that there's some that have slightly different degrees or something about how they measure it. But generally speaking, in a state that requires title branding, and it's a minority of states, but in a state that requires title branding, what would happen is the manufacturer buys the vehicle back from the consumer. They get the vehicle, they have the title to it, and they're required to brand the title as a lemon law buyback. Now, most states don't call it lemon law buyback. They call it a manufacturer repurchase or something like that. And it might say automobile manufacturer warranty repurchase. I've seen a bunch of different designations and how they jumble those words around. But they don't use the word lemon because lemon is a colloquial term and it's not actually the official term of the law. And so the manufacturer buys the vehicle back, they get the title, and then they apply for the branded title that says this vehicle is a lemon, and then they take that vehicle and they sell it. Now, hopefully, if that vehicle is then sold to another individual, they're going to look at that and go, oh, here's the title. It says lemon law buyback or equivalent at the top. That's an indication to you that that vehicle is bought back under the lemon law. And whether that's a good thing to buy one of those, we'll talk about in a second. But of course, the problem is that what happens when you take the vehicle with a branded title that says it's a lemon law buyback, and you take it to a state like Michigan and retitle it? Well, the brand will disappear because Michigan does not brand titles, whether they're branded elsewhere or not. If we don't have that brand here, we're not going to put the brand on there. Now, if you bring a salvage vehicle to Michigan, it'll get salvage put on the brand, and that will transfer through because we have a salvage designation here also. But the lemon law buyback designation could drop off if the vehicle simply changes states. I've heard stories of vehicles that were bought back in states by manufacturers in a state where the branding would be required, and that somehow the vehicle winds up going straight to an auction in another state that doesn't require branding, and therefore the brand never gets applied. I don't know that much about that, but I've heard it's possible. But the real point here is that if you're looking at a late model vehicle and you do a Carfax or equivalent on it, you're going to want to look for two things. One is, obviously, has it ever been deemed a lemon law buyback by a branded title? So there will be a designation, and I've seen these before, by the way. I've had someone contact me and say, Steve, I bought a car, pulled a Carfax on it, and there's a thing saying, this vehicle had a branded title at one point in time in another state. And I say, well, did you see the before or after you bought the car? After, which often is the case, which is why you get these before you buy the car. And they say, yeah, but where did the title brand go? And I say, well, it got transferred to a state that doesn't do title branding. So that title brand designation disappeared. And that's what happens is these titles get washed by taking them to other states. As you can imagine, without Carfax, all else being equal, without Carfax or anybody to know, a vehicle with a branded title in one state is worth more money with an unbranded title in another state, okay? If everything else is equal, other than the states. So the point is that the disappearance of the title brand actually helps in some respect if you're trying to sell the car and you don't really care about how scrupulous you are, okay? So the title brands can fall off that way. So first of all, when you're doing a vehicle history report research on your vehicle you're looking into, first thing you want to look at is, number one, is there a flagged title branding issue in the history of the vehicle? Did it ever have a branded title that it doesn't have now? Okay, and you know, again, it was salvage at one point. It could become rebuilt salvage. It should never become totally unbranded, but I've heard of that too. But generally speaking, was there a title that fell off? Be aware of that. But number two, be aware of the fact that they don't actually call it lemon law on the titles. It'll say something like I said, manufacturer repurchase, or automobile manufacturer warranty repurchase, something like that. And there are Carfax reports I've seen, and by other manufacturers also, or other publishers of vehicle history reports, where they'll say something like, vehicle was sold at auction by manufacturer, okay? And then it'll say, but don't worry, vehicles are sold at auction all the time by the manufacturer. But you have to ask yourself, why is the manufacturer selling this vehicle in the first place? Because manufacturers build vehicles at assembly plants, and then they take those vehicles and they ship them to dealerships. And it shows up at the dealership with a thing called a certificate of origin. It's not even a title, it's a certificate of origin. And certificate of origin looks like a title, but it's actually the birth certificate for the car. So a brand new car has a certificate of origin, shows up at the dealership. So the very first title, the certificate of title that gets issued to that car, goes to the initial purchaser of the car. And from that point forward, in most cars' lives, the vehicles are never owned by the manufacturer again. Okay, so if you see a title that says, a title history that says, certificate of origin issued, okay, that's when the car was built, then it goes owner number 1, civilian, owner number 2, civilian, owner number 3, manufacturer. You got to ask yourself, why did the manufacturer jump into the chain of title at this spot? Usually be higher than that. It actually usually be the second owner. So the first owner gets it brand new, vehicle qualifies as a lemon, manufacturer buys it back and becomes a second owner. They then take it to auction and sell it to the third owner. And you wonder if the third owner found out about the lemon law buyback history of the vehicle. Now, I know a little bit about this because I've been doing this for 26 years and I've overseen thousands of lemon law buybacks. And I've spoken to people in the industry. And a lot of the cars that are bought back in Michigan from my clients wind up at auctions, and they're sold at auction, sometimes in Chicago, to dealerships. These are not auctions open to the public. They're only open to dealerships. So guys from dealerships and gals show up at the auctions, and these vehicles cross the block. Now, it depends on the manufacturer, but I've also heard from guys who work at the manufacturer who say to me specifically, Steve, when we sell our cars that are bought back from you at these auctions, we disclose, we say this is a lemon law buyback. And he says, and then we also disclose what was wrong with it. It was brought in 3 times the transmission, or 4 times the transmission, or 5 times the engine, whatever. And then they actually have a form, and this is not true of all manufacturers, but I've seen it for, I think, more than one, where they have a form that says, we'll extend the warranty or give you some kind of consideration if you'll be so kind as to get the next civilian owner of the vehicle to sign this document indicating that they are aware that the vehicle they just bought is a lemon law buyback. So they were trying very, very hard to not get any negative publicity by being dragged into this thing where, hey, you know, I got this lemon sold to me, no one told me. If you do a search on lemon law buybacks and being resold into commerce, you can find a couple lawsuits. One involving Chrysler, I think, one involving Ford. I could be wrong about that, but 2 of the big 3 who got sued because the way that their system was set up at one point in time didn't necessarily make sure that the next owner of the vehicle found out about its true history, which is why some states have title branding. The thinking is, vehicle gets bought back under the lemon law, they stamp the title, lemon law buyback. There's no way a future owner couldn't know that unless the car gets sold out of state, okay? So again, that's something you gotta be watching out for. So when you're looking at a vehicle history report, you're looking for 2 things: the obvious flag saying this vehicle had a lemon law branded title at one point or another. Obviously, if it's got that, that's a problem. Number 2, look for repeated repairs. So a lot of warranty repairs do show up on those history reports now. And if you see a vehicle that's been in the shop 3-4 times for the same problem and low mileage, even if it didn't get deemed a lemon, you might not want to buy it, simply because why does it take 4 times to fix something or 3 times to fix something? Okay, that would be a problem to me. But especially if you see several repair attempts and then manufacturer auction, so, manufacturer sold the vehicle at auction, that's an indication to you that, well, they own it. The only reason that they would own it in that space in the title chain is that they probably bought it back under a state lemon law. So again, it's a common misconception that all titles are branded in America to demonstrate a vehicle was bought back under the lemon law. Absolutely not true. In fact, it's a minority of vehicles, and we think it's only about 13 or 14 states that actually brand titles as lemon law buybacks. And by the way, you don't ever want to buy a lemon law buyback. I've debated this topic many times with different people, and I still get questions about it. And someone will say, hey, Steve, I got this great offer to buy this late model car. It's got this weird problem. They bought it back under the lemon law, but they fixed it. And I always say, well, if it was so easy to fix, why'd they buy it back? And then there's always this long pause. Even if they're sending me an email, I can hear the pause. And they say, well, to make the customer happy, I have news for you. Cliche. Many of the people I've spoken to who've got serious problems with their cars come to me and say, Steve, no one seems to care if I'm happy. The manufacturer won't help me. The dealer won't help me. I brought the vehicle in 4 times. They've actually said, we don't know what to do. We cannot fix this. We admit there's a problem. I've had dealerships give my business card to people and say, hey, go ahead and sue us. Call Steve Lehto. They're not going to tell that to somebody with a car that's not defective. Why would they do that? So these cars are defective. If you want to take the risk on it, and I've had people say, well, Steve, the car got bought back because there was a slight rattle in the headliner, and I think I can live with that. And I say, lemon laws in most states, so you only have to buy a vehicle back if it's got a substantial defect. You think the rattle in the headliner was a substantial defect? So how do you even know they're telling you the truth about why it got bought back? So I'd be leery of that. I wouldn't buy a lemon law buyback in a million years unless it was literally penny in the dollar, maybe a nickel on the dollar. Beyond that, and especially if I want a reliable transportation, I would never do it. So keep in mind, most repurchased lemons are not branded as such. Have to touch on one more thing I mentioned last week, that I'm going to give away 25 copies of the Lemon Law Bible as soon as I hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. As a result of this big push, we broke 9,100 subscribers recently. We're getting there. A little ways to go, but we're getting there. So please, if you're watching this video and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It'll keep you updated on things I talk about here, but also about my upcoming canoe trip, which I'll give you an update on in a week or two. I got some stuff happening on that, especially as the snow is starting to melt outside. Questions or comments, as always, shoot them my way, lehtoslaw.com, LEHTOSLAW.com. I'm on Twitter, at Steve Lehto, at STEVELEHTO. And this show's on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podbean, Google Play, and where you really have to subscribe. And if you do, tell your friends. Subscribe. YouTube. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.